Oh, yeah.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
It's computer slow, that's why I wanted to get here early. It takes its time. No, here. I got a new one. Oh, no. I'll forget it, I don't need it. It's fully charged.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Randy's going to be included in here in a second, right, Randy?
Yep, yeah, you could probably start, I mean, we'll have to actually be,
Okay, roll call, please.
Delvo.
Yes.
Schuler.
Yep.
Scannell.
present.
Dean.
Here.
Hinkes. Parma. Ganther. We have quorum.
That's the forum, that's the critical thing. Approval agenda, I understand there's one change. Alderman Johnson asked us to hold up on number 2 till our next
Yep.
meeting. So number 2 would not be part of the agenda. Other than that, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Matt and Debbie, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, thank you. Minutes from June 14th. I can't be involved in this one because Matt.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Alderman Scannell and Matt, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, thank you. Number 1, consideration of possible action on a request by Extension Brown County to use parcels 21-3381 and 21-3380 located in Imperial Lane for the purpose of community gardens.
Yep, that's gonna be me, Gary. Both of those lots were purchased in 2009 and 2010 respectively with neighborhood enhancement funds. Extension Brown County is asking that they could use those to create the community gardens until the time a developer is chosen for those sites. Community gardens, I just want to go over, are plots of land used for garden purposes by members of the public who meet the income eligibility requirements of the extension, and any fees taken in are used for the upkeep of the gardens. Staff is recommending that we do approve the use of the property. Now, they do have a growing season, which goes from April 15th to the second Sunday in October, so that would be their term of that. They are asking that we are able to renew it each year's growing season, and that the staff, any staff may terminate the agreement upon 60 days of written notice. The extension will be responsible for management and operation during the growing season, including lawn maintenance around and between the garden beds.
So if we get a developer between April 15th and October of whichever year, we could.
We would have to give them a 60-day written notice, yes.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, questions, comments?
I think it's a great use for the land.
Sounds like it.
Long time overdue. I mean, at first I wasn't into community gardens, but then they took root and grew on me. And now I can't leave them alone.
Wow, you've been working on that one.
Work on that.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Debbie. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thanks. Okay, number 2 is on hold, like I said, number 3.
So do we need to make a motion? Make it official?
Sure.
Motion to hold.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second.
Is this just till our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
To hold agenda items to our next meeting. Number 2, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thanks. Number 3, consideration of possible action on a request for a city resolution authorizing the submittal of the Community Development Investment CDI grant application to Wisconsin Economic Development Corp. for proposed rehabilitation of 317 Delsman Street, parcel 4-65.
All right, this one would be me. You might remember at our last RDA meeting, RDA approved the use of $240,000 in TDA funds towards the development of 6 affordable rental units at 317 Delsman Street. That might be known to many of you as the Bangkok Gardens building on the corner of Delsman and Broadway. That award was contingent on receiving a community development investment grant through WEDC. The developer intends to renovate ground floor commercial units as well. The CDI grants, the municipality, the city is actually the entity that needs to apply for those funds. We kind of serve as a pass-through agency. In order for us to submit an application, we need to approve a resolution through council authorizing us to submit that application. So that's what we're asking for today, is just the authorization to move forward on the application.
And then is there a limited bucket of these funds, or does this limit us in any way on applying on others, or help me understand some of that context?
Yes, typically a city is allowed to submit 1, possibly 2 CDI grants in a given year.
Okay.
It's been, I believe, quite a few years since the city of Green Bay has actually submitted an application. This is a project that's we've identified as a priority for this year. We anticipate probably to submit another one in the near future, but probably next year.
So it would be so far the only application for these funds from the
Correct.
city this year? Okay.
Yep.
It has to be one-for-one matching investment.
It does require a match, however, that would not be coming from the city. Those matched funds would be coming from the developer.
Yep. See that?
Would merely be serving as a pass-through.
Sure.
What's the acronym for that? NULIC or?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm sure there is one though.
Hey, why not? Hey, whatever you want.
There is a pass-through acronym for that. Unit of local government, so it's.
So does the developer normally apply for these grants?
No, this is only, municipalities are the only eligible entities to apply
For this
for the
particular?
CDI. Mhm.
Okay.
But having a private project come forward and approach a municipality to apply
Right,
on their
right,
behalf
right,
is
right.
is actually fairly common.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all. These WEDC grants work.
And if the project falls through and the developer doesn't meet their end of the bargain, then what happens?
That's a good question. If the project doesn't move forward, then we wouldn't get the grants.
Oh, fact-finding mission to Mexico.
Typically, these are reimbursement grants,
Volunteering,
so
Yeah.
we would submit costs to get reimbursed.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by.
I'll second that motion.
And a second by Matt. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor, so saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Madam, I may beat your record here after the rate we're going. Number 4, consideration of possible action and communication from Amanda Patterson, Cafe Madrid, requesting RDA consider entering the lease for use of a RDA-owned parcel 12-122.
That'll be me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
We have received communication from Alder Johnson for consideration of extended lease to Ms. Patterson then for use of the restaurant. As is indicated briefly in the staff report, based on past usage and compliance with the previous lease and some issues with some inappropriate uses actually of the shower Schumacher spaces and other buildings, staff is not in favor of extending a lease at this time. We certainly can have more additional questions. I believe the petitioner is here if there's any desire to have any questions. But at this point, staff is not in favor of extending the lease.
Has there been anything recent? I thought a lot of that was fairly old.
I think the most recent action is we had housing and zoning inspections. Staff had to go back and actually clean out the property. So clean up of debris and other materials back in the property.
Well, I'd make a motion to open the floor.
Okay, motion to open the floor. Second by Debbie. All in favor of opening up the floor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Please.
All right, I am Amanda Patterson, owner of Madrid Tapas. Cafe Madrid is, I don't know why it keeps being used. I do have a few testimonials here, and I won't lie, I'm a little ill-prepared. Received notification last night that I was on the agenda for today. The courtyard is a huge part of the business that carries us through the winter months. It is about 80% of the yearly revenue that my business takes in. I would love to address any concerns about the use of the space or how it has been mismanaged or misused. I don't know how in depth I really want to get on the reasons why the shower building was misused. I personally did not know about my ex-husband's appropriation of the building. I was aware that we were storing tables in there and a snow blower during the winter months. So, I'm sorry, I'm really,
Do you know Alder Johnson, what's his view on this at all? He's the Alder for the area now.
he is. I could read you his words that he messaged me, because when I approached him or messaged him and then approached him about speaking about how we could move forward after removing the poor management that was in place from basically from COVID on. So, and, sorry. So I had told him that I messaged and said, told him what was going on, that the RDA has told me that I can no longer use the courtyard any longer because police say it's an issue and the homelessness that is coming back there is an issue. Then I went into basically what I was just telling you. The courtyard season is about 80% of my yearly revenue. And he told me he would look into it, and he said, let me look into this, Amanda. If the purpose is to somehow curate the homeless problem, I 100% do not support this strategy. Homeless problems do not get to trump desirable business operations. That is not how this works. Have you discussed with the city's economic development department? I know that someone has planned an option on one of the buildings. I do not know if the alleyway is connected to that option.
We're not talking about the alleyway though, right? We're talking about more the courtyard area?
I feel like that both of them get back and forth.
Okay.
It's the same area.
Yes.
Is it, well, okay, just an L, huh?
Yeah, it is an L-shaped
So it's
courtyard
thoroughfare.
alley area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thoroughfare.
So it's the alley that comes out to the street,
Yep.
and then the area back in behind.
That goes
Directly
behind
behind
it,
the
yep.
building.
Yep.
And that lease has been in place for how long?
6 years.
6 years.
It's not a lease though, is it?
It was more of a hold
It's a hold
harmless
harmless
agreement.
for
Okay.
use of
Yeah,
the-
for use of the alley.
And is there?
And the
is this-
original intent was for the, behind the restaurant, was to have tables and chairs
Yep.
to, and then that just, the whole alley was then taken over.
That's a little misinformation. I was told that that entire parcel was one parcel, and that when Mayor Schmidt was here, he told me, like, you might want to start stringing up lights in the alleyway just to bring it, have more foot traffic in there, and you should put more tables in there so that way, he's like, all of that is yours. Like, I do understand, but it's an extremely large space. And to like triple our seating capacity is a little stretch. So we slowly but surely started taking more of it over, making it lived in, utilized, trying to beautify it as much as you can when I didn't want to be removing any graffiti or painting, any walls, because that would obviously have to go through certain channels, and quite frankly, more work than I really needed to put in an outdoor space. So that was what my understanding was, and that was from the very get-go.
This courtyard area, this is part of the Shower and Schumacher.
Immediately adjacent to it.
Right.
It's immediately adjacent to it, and it's, from what I'm told, a lifetime easement for all the buildings and businesses back there.
For access, but it is actually part of the planning
That's what I
option
thought.
for the Shower Schumacher building
That's what I
that
thought.
is currently in place.
That's
Yeah,
what I thought.
That entire area.
yes. And that is what
The
actually.
area in its entirety.
Yeah, that is really what kicked off this, was that we got that proposal.
Yes.
And we were moving forward with that, and part of the original agreement was there was a 30-day notice. Which I first started talking to Amanda back in February that these things needed to happen. And it wasn't so much about the homeless part of it until I had gone over there and we had gotten the planning option that we thought, I had a police officer come there because somebody was staying actually in the Shower Schumacher building. So the police met me there, and they're the ones who then, at that time, which we already had the proposal in front of us,
Right.
had said, we've always thought this was a problem during the winter, and that was just because the alley wasn't completely cleaned out for the winter months. And so it became kind of a overnight place to stay.
Right.
It's still an overnight place to stay. And I live, so my business back door, then the courtyard, and then I live above the Heel building. And I've actually seen more homeless people in there now because it isn't being used. It does look abandoned. And what they do back there is nothing that anybody wants to see. They use it for their facilities. They do lots of drugs back there. I have talked to the police on several occasions that just this year about how many bags of drugs did we see in the alleyway?
I counted 5 in one day.
And people will stash their stuff there. There is, I apologize, do you remember what the lady is that stays up on the stoop of the Show and Schumacher?
I don't remember her name, but she's there every night. She sleeps there from dusk till dawn.
And I come down in the morning, I usually bring the kids downstairs to the restaurant to get them food so that they don't wake up anybody else that's trying to sleep. And it's dark because there's no lighting in there anymore. Customers do not want to even use the back door or entrance because it's unused, it's unlit. The only lights that are provided right back there are on Madrid right now. And I do understand why the homeless people would want to come in there, but we've been very good about keeping them out and cleaning up their needles, their drugs, their garbage, and any bodily fluids or bodily anything that they leave. I wish there was a better way to say that. And now we've found people sleeping in the flower bed, going through the garbage. I feel it's worse now because there is nothing back there, and there isn't traffic going back there, and there's no reason for anybody not to be back there because it looks secluded and it looks abandoned.
Okay, so I see the staff recommendation received and placed on file. But besides that, what were some of the recommendations to resolve these issues? What are some of the things you'd like to see done?
Again, most recently, we've had, conducted a specific cleanup of the area and back there. Again, obviously, the other thing that's impacting this is the recent purchase of the big theater, the Confetti's building.
Okay,
So in terms of the alley, which is part of that alley extension is actually part of that property.
yes.
So there's a private section in addition to the section of the RDA owned property there, so. So it was a general cleanup of that entire area. I think, certainly, now that was the first step, I think, from our standpoint. Mr. Chair is actually getting in there and physically cleaning out the debris and things that were back in that area. Obviously, we're confident that as we're moving forward with the Shower Schumacher project, that it's getting back to its original use and intention and its purpose of an access alley. We'll certainly have regular traffic and a little bit more monitoring back there as well. So we do think that that's part of the agreement I think we have with the new prospect in that building going forward. That activity level should change, and we think there's likely to be
Okay.
a difference.
Kind of related to where are we at with that prospect? Still looking good, or what's?
They're the last, just the same update that we got just last month, that they're still at that point with their historic credits.
Okay,
Everything else, funding-wise, with their lender and stuff like that is in place.
so you're optimistic, you feel good about it?
I feel really good about it, and that probably is one of the things, they don't, if their planning option ends the end of September. So if we move into a development agreement,
Right,
they're gonna take over the site anyways. And they have instructed to me that they're, at this time, they do not want to have her business in there. Oh, not because they don't want her there, they don't want any risk or liability when they're doing their construction there. When the company's there,
yes.
when Immel's there doing their work, they don't want to have any liability to that. Now, they have expressed to me, and I have spoke to Amanda about this, that they may want to rent that site to her in the future.
Sure.
At this time, that's just not something that they're looking to do because of the liability part of it as well.
Right. As everyone knows, we've been holding on to the Shower Schumacher property for quite a while and been anxious to get it developed. And so I don't think we want to jeopardize that. I just don't think we want to jeopardize that at all. So, actually, everybody's opinion, but receiving and placing on file seems very appropriate. But
I was just-
other opinions? Please, Deb?
I'm just wondering what steps have been taken to actually secure that area from that front part that's coming in?
Okay.
Because there's just those two little iron gates.
Which were mine and are sitting inside the restaurant now.
Okay.
And
So,
I was
And I
told
think
that
part-
we couldn't secure it because it is a throughway. So
It
I
is-
think
it's
that
an
is
access.
where, I'm sorry, I don't know if I should even
No,
be
that's what,
speaking
you're
over
absolutely,
you.
she's absolutely. That
Or
is
sharing the
absolutely right.
information.
Because it is, the alley, the original intent of the alley is an access way for businesses and back to work
Right.
delivery. So blocking it, even from any public safety standpoint, is really wouldn't be the preferred use. I think that's why even originally
But if
looking
it was
at.
gated and the people that
Well, again,
needed access had access.
I think the original
to be able
point.
to do it.
Certainly,
To be
that
able
means
to
is
enter.
when the original area was the area behind, and again, not necessarily the area on the side, I think, as was mentioned. So originally, the side alley was being maintained, and then the seating was going to be on back right behind the restaurant. So that access then was at least essentially being maintained from that standpoint. So again, I think it's just a matter of, it has not been maintained, I think, to the extent that it probably needs to be in order to be used really for any purpose, I think, at this point. And I think because it is critical to, I think, what we see the Shower Schumacher development at this point is one of the main reasons why we're doing it. But again, we have had several, I think staff's had multiple conversations with Amanda in the past, and for a variety of reasons, there has been, an inability to kind of keep up with the requirements, I think, of the agreement, and going on there from a maintenance standpoint and a safety standpoint, in addition to, I think, some inappropriate uses, I think, with the adjacent building. So we've had multiple conversations. I think staff has had several opportunities. Again, this was originally back in February with a 30-day notice. Here we are in almost August. We've been trying to work, I think, with Amanda and the restaurant, and just simply it's come to the point where we don't believe it's worth extending at this point.
And I totally understand that. I do also, I'm also hearing that part of the misuse of the building, and everybody should know what's going on within their own business, but perhaps she didn't know that her ex-husband was inappropriately doing that.
So
That was implicated.
Well, let me back up. And it was considered storage. And I have talked to Ken Ravinsky, And his initial conversation and his initial agreement was with Amanda and Ryan.
Okay.
He physically gave the key to Ryan because they were married at the time, but his conversation and his agreement was with Amanda and Ryan.
Okay.
If there was, and it just became, and it was just to store the things during the winter months when she
Sure.
didn't have the business there. It became a personal item thing,
Okay.
bikes and kids' toys and,
Which, this is why I don't know how much personally you really want to hear. When I had actually first spoke to Rhonda, I did not receive the 30-day notice. Ryan has either hidden or taken the keys to the mailbox. I need to get a new one put up on the outside of the building because ours is on the Confetti's building. After COVID, we all know how difficult that was. I was pregnant. I had a baby 7 weeks early, and he was in the NICU for 2 weeks. I stepped away from the business because it was slow, and I wanted to take care of my infant son. And that's where I think a lot of the neglect came from. Mr. Lukey and I were already divorced, but going through a pandemic and being pregnant with our child, not just his child, I leaned a lot on him, and that was a huge mistake. And he grossly overreached, and many of the things that were in the shower building, I thought he had pawned. I could go on about the misuse. I don't know if he gave the key back to Ken. I don't know if he did have a key. I never personally had a key. I didn't go through the shower building because it wasn't my place. He always did the lifting and putting the things in there. That is also where the homeless thing, it comes into play, where Rhonda and, I don't remember the officer's name, but discovered that there was somebody living there. They first told me it was my ex-husband, whom there is a no contact order now due to his gross physical mismanagement of his family. And so then going forward, other issues, the removal of the things. My brother and I removed everything from the courtyard that we could. He threw out his back, and then the rest of the things that were removed from the shower building, my children and I did. The things that were left, I contacted the Restore and St. John's to see if there were two big items that I could not move myself. They were going to come pick it up. It was a round booth. And we got rid of the piano. I don't know why Ryan decided in the middle of winter to take a piano and put it outside. It wasn't. Going forward, the large issue was my ex-husband. And he is no longer, he can't talk to me, and he is no longer even welcome on the premise or at my house. So that in itself is a huge part of the problem that was removed. I did take more time away from the business than I wanted. That is when the abuse started. So if I didn't need to be there, I would not be alone with him, and he was alone there a lot. I wasn't aware that, I couldn't even believe that he was staying in the shower building until Rhonda sent me pictures, and I was like, that is our stuff. And I thought it was just a homeless person, a different homeless person, I should say, until I saw the liquor bottles that were in there. And I don't know how many homeless people you guys know, but they don't tend to waste liquor, and they don't buy $100 bottles of champagne. So that is when I realized that they were indeed correct, that my ex was squatting. Not only has he appropriated grossly and misused the access to the shower building, it's much larger than just that.
We have some questions for Amanda?
No, I got it all.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to like put it, I
Yeah.
don't think there's a nice neat bow you can put on the circumstances. And it is very emotional and very trying. This is, so,
If there are any questions or comments, we will entertain a motion to get back to regular business. Thank you.
is there any way anybody else can speak?
Go. Sure.
If somebody else wants to speak, sure. go
Well,
ahead.
I did bring, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you guys want to say anything?
I can say some things.
Do they need to state their name and address?
Yeah.
Name's Andrew Hunt. I am her husband. We got married May 1st. Been seeing each other since October. I got to witness firsthand about things she was speaking of, and she's absolutely right. The man was completely out of line on a lot of things, and we were trying to be busy and getting our family back on track. And part of that, getting family back on track, is a big money maker for the family was the courtyard. And I was a patron there before I even started dating this woman. And that is one of the redeeming qualities of being at Madrid, is going to have that outdoor seating and just have that ambiance. And it will be taken care of if we get the opportunity to have it again.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I can
Thank
say.
you. Motion to get back to regular business.
I didn't know if there was another.
Oh, is there anybody else?
I can, but I don't need to, but I can.
Sure, please.
I am
Thank you.
also an Amanda. I was a patron long before I became one of her friends. I'm not even from Green Bay. That was a weird little thing I stumbled upon with one of my other friends, who happens to also be an Amanda. It's a fun story that we all have. She took me there one time, and I fell in love with it. I was trying to find some cool pictures, and all I could find are the food. And weirdly enough, the food seemed enhanced being out there, but nonetheless. It was a beautiful space. I'm sad that it's not there, and I know it was a huge benefit to her business. And everyone that talks to me talks about Madrid's courtyard. And I'm like, yeah, they had it, but there's some construction going on, so they couldn't do it this year. So it's been sad, but overall, it was always a very positive thing, and I know it brought in a lot of business.
Thank you.
If I just may say just one more thing.
Sure, of
Or
course.
just a little more.
Sure.
I would like to just remind that, COVID was a real hell of a deal for all of us. I'm not sure it hasn't affected any industry, but the restaurant industry itself was huge. I clawed and scraped and cut fat where it needed to be for us to come out the other side of COVID. I also, in the last 2 years, I can't remember when the heel moved, but it was very, very shortly after Madrid moved into 225 East Walnut Street, that we were surrounded by vacant buildings. And I'm really excited for development to come because more business and more, it will draw more. But I also did take an alleyway that was known for drug use and we're just gonna say not unsavory things.
Mhm.
And I did beautify it, and I would like everybody to take a little bit of that into consideration. And I do understand the gross mismanagement and of the situation, but going forward, I really would hope that, I just feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath our feet, and it just feels like it's one thing after another. Sales are down at least 60%. we are lucky because a lot of people come through the door and they'll be like, oh, great, can we sit out in the courtyard? And I have to explain to them that we do not have the courtyard. And we're lucky if they do stay. It is and was a beautiful spot. And unassuming, you didn't think that you were in Green Bay. You felt like you were in a different city. And I just want the ability to provide for my family and do it the right way without hindrance. So I just want to thank you for your time and listening.
Yes,
Mr. Murgus, do you have any input on this?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. All right, thank you.
thank you.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion,
And second.
second by Matt.
I got some questions.
All those in favor of
Oh,
closing
flip, yeah.
the closing the floor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alderman, please.
Do we know how Steve feels about, the owner of the Vic, how he feels about that space?
I know it was certainly my interaction with him was on the day that where things were getting cleaned up in that back end. He was very excited to certainly get the area picked up behind him there. I don't know, I think he's had some interaction with Amanda in terms of just being a new building owner, but I'm not familiar. I think he's probably, has some interest in certainly keeping that maintained, keeping it clean back there for sure.
Speaking about
But
Mr. Schneider.
Beyond the initial conversations that I think they've had, I'm not aware of any details of what those conversations may have been.
Okay, and construction will probably start September at the earliest?
Their planning option goes to September 24th. So that would be when we would roll over into the development agreement, transferring the two properties, the two parcels into their names.
But they wouldn't begin construction before that time?
Before September?
No.
Only if their request comes in that they want to move ahead to the development agreement. So even, I guess my thought is even if we gave her the ability in the next month, I mean, for her to reset up and then us have to, they go into a development agreement.
Right.
I don't understand. I mean, I guess, I still want to say that they could be ready next spring for her to be able to, use the thing. And they are considering, I mean, they're open to her using that in the future. That, I can't speak for them whether that's actually going to happen in the timeframe it's going to happen.
I guess there's no liquor license or anything back there for that, but that seating area.
Not that I'm aware of.
But I believe that's either expired or not been renewed,
I don't know.
so.
Okay, we'll have to look at that. Then whatever action we take here, if this is pulled at council has final say, or?
This is
No.
an RDA.
RDA, that's what I was trying to, okay.
Matt, you going to say something?
No, just a couple questions, just to make sure I'm clear. The agreement that we have in place right now, and it's been several years, it's not a lease agreement or a rent agreement. There's no rent or commercial payment made on that space or anything like that?
No.
Okay. It's just an agreement basically from the party of the restaurant saying, hey, we won't sue the city
Right.
if something happens on the space that's owned
Yep.
by the RDA. And the full intent, assuming the development agreement is to go forward, is this parcel would transfer to the folks who buy the
Yep.
Schumacher building. Okay.
And if they so wanted, they could work out a separate agreement with
Right.
Amanda. That's still be totally up to them.
Exactly, and the access easement agreements will follow with the deed. So they still, businesses back there still will have their same access,
Right,
but that doesn't give them the ability to be able to run a business or something back there.
right. Okay, very good. Well, certainly, we've been holding on that property a long time, and we don't want to jeopardize that in my mind. We want to close on that. But that's, other opinions before we entertain a motion?
So even for like the summer months, that wouldn't be would that be a risk?
I don't know. By the time we reset it all up again, and I wouldn't do it, but that's my opinion.
I'm just gonna, I made just a few copies of, I'm gonna just pass this around, I'll start with Randy. Those are some pictures of the conditions of what the site was when I really started pressing that we needed to clean it up.
Yes.
So I guess I kind of want to take that into consideration as well, and I know that she's ran into some hardships. I know that this site was beautiful. And I'm not saying it was because I'm being critical or anything like that. I'm saying it was amazing. She did a great job. But it deteriorated to this condition. I mean, we had a brick oven that got put in there, no permission of the RDA or anything like that, no requests for permits or anything, and that. And with us being this close to that development,
Right.
I just don't want to compromise that large of a development for what might be
A month or two,
a 60-day window for her,
at most.
yeah.
It's not operating right now, correct?
What's
She's
it?
not operating out there right
No.
now.
Right.
Okay.
Other comments? One way or another, I'll entertain a motion.
I would, and I hear Amanda, Ms. Patterson, I don't know if I'm going to get the title here correct. I hear you. I want you to know that.
Yes.
And this is hard, and I know you've put a lot of sweat into that space, and life has also thrown you some tough curves in the last couple of years. I'm going to recommend we receive and place this on file, as the motion stated, because right, there hasn't been a commercial transaction with this property. And the city right now needs to maintain, in my opinion, its ability to try to get that property developed. And if we come out the backside of this and you have the option with the hopefully new owners of that space to work out some sort of an agreement, I think that would be great. But I think for right now, I do agree with the recommendation to receive and place on file, so I can make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Matt and a second by Alderman Scannell to receive and place on file as recommended by staff. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right.
Good luck.
Yes. Number 5, consideration with possible action of a substantial amendment to 2019 annual action plan to reallocate $126,603.64 the residual CDBG CARES fund to the essential frontline employee relief program to fund broadband access to qualified neighborhoods. Who's got this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Will.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Will.
So if you recall, back in August of 2021, the RDA allocated $253,062.34 of CDBG CV CARES funding to provide broadband and wireless access in some of our qualified neighborhood parks to provide residents the ability to do things like work remotely, remote school, and other needs that, were made challenging because of the pandemic and social distancing requirements. Well, since then, like many other projects that have come before you, materials and prices have increased. So there has been a gap of $158,637 that has been created because of that increase in materials and labor to put in that fiber. So what we're requesting to do is reallocate $126,603.64 of residual care funds that have not been spent down yet to the essential frontline employee activity of creating that broadband access to help fill that gap. Even when reallocating those funds, there'll still be a gap of $32,000 or $32,033.64. But the IT department does have access to funds to fill that gap to complete the project. And if, of course, some of you are wondering the reason why some of these funds have not been spent down yet as part of the CARES program is because the amount of funding that is out there from other state organizations and federal programs that are essentially duplicative of the ones right here. So, and also some of those programs have fewer strings attached to them, which make them more desirable programs to pursue as opposed to some of these CARES funded programs with the federal requirements. So that's why there's still some residual funding left over there in that program. But these funds do need to be spent down by 2030, which is why we're proposing to reallocate those unused funds to this program to complete the project.
I see Mike's here from IT. Mike, could you give us kind of an overview of how well this project is going, or how it's not going, or, you know?
Well, it's just went through the bidding process, so that's basically how far we got, right? And
Oh, I
so-
see.
So we just, as Will stated,
Okay.
all the prices have increased since last year when we got our original quote.
All right. We don't really have any other destinations for these funds at this point in time. Oh, I'm sorry, please.
Military Avenue had requested some funds for this purpose, actually, back in the day, and was told we couldn't use it for internet. But just more recently, we had requested, there's a block that's definitely blighted, but it's not in the CBD area, so Aaron was checking into being qualified to designate it as blighted. It's the block across from Sears,
Okay.
which is clearly blighted.
Yeah.
But we were told that these funds were earmarked for the next 3 years and couldn't be used, so. I just want to clarify that there definitely were other requests, but.
Sure, thank you, Leah, for bringing that up. Right, so I can't speak to where the process is with designating an area blight. I mean, right now, the way that these funds are, these have to be used in CDBG eligible areas as opposed to like ARPA funds. Some of these ARPA funds can be used in like an area outside of that. But right now, so these still are limited to the qualified areas for community development block grant spending. And as far as the wireless goes, I remember, if you recall back, I don't have the proposal in front of me. I can't recall specifically, Leah, in what method or what way you were looking at providing broadband access, if that was to businesses or just to the Military Avenue district. So I guess I don't feel prepared to speak as to why that can or can't happen at this point, just because I don't have that information in front of me.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. It was when the funds first came out.
Right, and I know we were looking at even the discussion came up here at the RDA with looking at providing broadband to public areas as opposed to individual households. It was just very difficult and time-consuming to administer a program per household to provide internet access, as opposed to providing access to a public area in a qualified census tract that would allow then those neighbors to access the internet that way. And it very, like as you mentioned, it could have been ARPA funds at that time that were being looked at.
Time frame, it was likely an ARPA fund discussion. We'd have to go back and double check on that totally. I mean, certainly it's something we can continue to try to look at, absolutely, see if we can match up a funding source for it,
Are those funds
absolutely.
still available, ARPA, they said?
I think ARPA funds are still being considered in terms of at the council level, and as Alder Scanlon is well aware.
And reconsidered.
So by all means, there is certainly an opportunity still possibly to leverage some of those funds, if it is in fact a qualified expenditure we can make. So that is only one option we should be taking a look at. There probably might be some other resources we should be taking a look at to see if there's something that can be done there.
It's only something we should follow up on. That'd be good. All right. Questions or comments in regard to the staff recommendation?
Motion to approve?
Right. Alderman Scannell,
And I will second.
and second by Matt. Questions or comments in regard to the staff recommendation and the motion approval and second? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Number 6.
That'd be you good?
Well,
Yes.
thank you.
So here with consideration for possible action to award contract CD 22.02 Wi-Fi fiber optic backbone project to the lowest qualified bidder. So as Director Ronick just mentioned, the bids did come in for this project. We received 2 bids, one from Holger Bros and one from Alexco. And Alexco came in as the lowest qualified bidder for this project. So therefore, staff is recommending to award the contract CD 22-02 Wi-Fi fiber optic backbone project to the lowest qualified bidder being Alexco.
Have we done work with them before? Or are you familiar with them? I mean,
Yes, we've done work with them
Okay,
before,
okay,
right.
you were satisfied with previous results?
Yes, other projects.
Great.
I would make the motion then to award the contract to the lowest qualified bidder, Alexco.
Second. Debbie, you gotta make a second here, one.
I did at the beginning.
Okay, motion by Matt.
She retired.
And second by Alderman Scannell. Any questions or comments regarding to the motion? If not, all those in favor, someone say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we, financial, I have no questions on the financial, anybody else did? If not, kid report. Diana, please.
Come on up then.
Stop working and get working.
That's right.
I wasn't gonna go through this whole spreadsheet. I believe you attached the spreadsheet right in the packet.
Correct, yep.
Yep.
So what happened is there is an annual report that needs to be submitted to the state to show all your revenues, all your expenses that happened in 2021, because there's enough TIDs. Stephanie Stretch and I has helped me update. We put it on a summary sheet. So as you can just go through it real quick, just, it tells you the type of TIF it is, when it was created, when it's going to mandatory term date. It tells you what the fund balance was at the beginning of 2021 and then where it ended. And then they also ask for future project costs or future revenues. So we have to go project it out to the end of the TID. And so that's what's in front of you now. I don't really plan to go through all of them. If you have any questions, we can tell you what any of those numbers mean. If you have any questions on specific TIDs, we could go through that.
Okay.
Did you want to?
Two comments. One is that, I think it was a year ago, we really cleaned a lot of them up. Did a great job. Limited
Correct.
some, combined some. That was super job.
We've
with everything.
closed 5 TIDs in the last 2 or 3 years. TID 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 and 17 have all been closed in the last couple of years.
Right. So when I look at these, which one gives you the biggest heartburn or most concern?
We have 2.
You can only pick one, Diane.
Well, the one that right now, of course, is TID 22, which is our shipyard. The reason why I say that is just because we know there's a lot of upfront costs that we are going to be incurring to make that, obviously for years and years, it hasn't had development. So it is really, that is one that we just know there's upfront costs on that one. So that one, considering we have, as a city, has tried to decide, tried to get most of our TIDs now to be mostly pay-go only.
Yes.
This one has upfront costs because,
Yep.
and then the other one, he only asked for one. The second one is TID 14, which is our rail yard.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a negative, right now it's in a negative fund balance. It's really, hasn't got a little bit worse in 2021. And that is just because there was a lot of upfront costs on that one. There was a lot of project grants on that one, and we just haven't seen the increment. Not all the projects have completed at this point, so we haven't seen the completed, the increment to come in. So that one because the money's been spent, we really need the increment to come in. So
Right.
that one's a little bit hard to project until we can see some finished projects there.
I guess I would just make a comment on that
Yeah.
area, that what we're also looking at as part of our, kind of our updates this coming year. We're actually looking at doing allocation amendments, possibly from a couple of our TIDs into TID 22 to help offset some of the revenue concern at that point. So those that we're working on those, and we'll be bringing those forward to the RDA actually at the August meeting for your review consideration. On TID 14, one thing they're looking at on that one is there's an allowance to extend the TID out 3 additional years. That is actually something that was looked at actually
Yes.
previously.
Yes.
We are bringing that back again and have run that at least preliminarily to the Joint Review Board for our first meeting, but we're bringing back that same request back, and that will also be back in front of this body at the August meeting.
Okay.
So at this point, obviously, the first time it was asked for, I think the direction from the Joint Review Board was, you might need it, you might not need it, let's wait a little while and see how that goes. Well, that was pre-pandemic. That was also our main project in the area losing their financing and losing an additional year and a half of their financing and increment. So we do believe that the conditions have changed enough that it's warranted to bring that back.
Right, I remember talking about that before. In regard to 14, you're probably going to give us an update in your project update, but what is the latest with the Delsman and Broadway project where the pillars are?
Yep, we have, that is a three, if the RDA remembers, it's a three-party agreement actually on that one. So it's DDL Properties, TWG as the developer, and then the city, or the RDA in that case. In this case. So we have essentially an agreement with TWG in terms of their revised project, essentially so that they're switching from more of a market rate project to more of an affordable project. They've received WEDA tax credits. They have their building permits and plans essentially are in and have been largely reviewed. I think we're waiting to finalize the review on maybe the plumbing. So only just one aspect of the plans really remaining to go. There are two elements that DDL Properties has requested be put into the new agreement that the city is not, at least staff is not in favor of.
Right.
So we have asked them to remove those two requests.
Yes.
Those are essentially, one is to automatically qualify for the 3-year extension on the remainder of their projects, which we said, well, we'll look at them on a case-by-case basis and bring recommendations back on each individual project to see if it warrants it. We're not going to give you a blanket 3 years automatically on all of them.
Right.
And then the other one was basically a statement saying that they were in compliance with all of their obligations for other agreements related to the rail yard, which they're not. So we have there's some other increment that needs to come in still. There's some other infrastructure improvements that still need to be made. Again, we said we got to revisit deadlines and dates and things on those individual agreements and bring revisions forward as needed, but staff is not comfortable bringing it back a blanket get out of jail free card, I guess, for lack of a better term on those. So we're hopeful that we will have that language resolved with DDL here in the next week or so and actually have that back for an amendment here at the August meeting.
I compliment staff for holding their hand on that.
Very supportive of the position you are taking.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Just in case there was any doubt.
Much appreciated, sir.
Very good. But that project obviously would help 14 a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so like it's going to happen. Absolutely. All right.
No, sorry.
Very good. Any questions for Alice? Diana? Is it Diana or Deanna?
It's Diana.
Diana. Wait, I thought so. Okay, Diana.
Princess.
Pardon?
Like the princess.
She says that all the time.
That's right.
Like the princess.
The princess of finance. There you
Right,
go.
exactly.
Questions or comments in regard to the TIP report? Very well done. Thank you. I like the summary. Easy to follow, easy to read. If not, director's report, project updates.
Just a couple of verbal ones. We will be getting an emailed version of the kind of our detailed one that we plan to use at every meeting going forward. That will be coming out hopefully via email by the end of the day today. We had a few things pop up that slowed us down in getting it updated here. We mentioned kind of the updates on the TID creations and amendments. We'll be bringing those forward to the RDA's consideration and public hearing and at the on August 9th meeting. We've essentially completed our request for proposals document for the JBS property over on Limekiln Road.
Good.
So we're getting through some final reviews on that, making sure procedurally we're ready to go, but we should be getting that document out, hitting the streets here hopefully within the next day or so. That's been a culmination of a lot of public engagement, discussions, and other things to try to attract. This case is the RFP will be for developing concept plans for what the site could be. We're also optimistic that hopefully a development team will actually bring a developer along with them to maybe get jumps. So hopefully we can encourage that and said, if you come up with a great concept and you actually bring somebody along who can build it, we're okay with that. So we're hopefully going to be encouraging that as well. So that schedule, we'll certainly be sharing that with everybody and keep you posted as that process goes along. We are anticipating, hopefully, we think maybe in the next 10 days to 2 weeks, we're working on a groundbreaking ceremony for the shipyard Phase 1 improvements. Obviously, the RDA will get an invitation to that. We'll be excited to actually see them get some shovels in the ground and move on some things there. We're excited for that.
Nothing beats groundbreaking.
Yeah, so we're very, very excited on that one. And then obviously, I think the one project we've had some people on vacation and other things with the attorney's office and my economic development staff. We're trying to wrap up the carnivore development agreement for the Grandview Industrial Park, the first tenant. That's going to be in there, but we're hopefully going to be seeing a groundbreaking for that project. 200,000 square foot plus industrial building for kind of our new anchor tenant in that industrial area. So we're excited to get that started. We hopefully in early August have that actually and have them in the ground and moving. So some good things afoot. We also continue to work on A couple different projects, 200 North Monroe, it's got a little bit of a financing gap. Costs are coming in higher than they are anticipating. We think we have a solution to help them out. They're also working, and I know people in the RDA will be shocked to hear they've actually found a little bit more contamination in a couple of areas than they were anticipating. Not like that ever happens in Green Bay on a site. But we think we've got a path forward to help them with that. They were looking at some EPA grants and some other things, but that would actually delay the project longer in terms of just the ability to get through the application process and without actually even knowing if they would qualify.
Where was that, Noel?
The 200 North Monroe project. That's
Associated Bank Lot?
Yes, yes.
Monroe and Pine?
Gorman
Oh, I mean,
grocery
there was a
store.
gas station there.
Yeah. So ironically enough, the contamination is actually from the fill, not from the previous use that was there. So
It's from this,
so it's,
that as well, actually.
yeah, so, I mean, so what we've discovered is the fill that they put out was certainly not.
So we made a transfer in August?
It's probably not gonna happen in August, we probably could think probably closer towards, because we actually have delayed the creation of a TIF, the overlay TIF for that particular project because of that. Want to make sure that they maximize their years of benefits, so. They are still in regular communication with Matt and myself, they are certainly working forward. I just ran into Carol Carls from Immel Construction, their builder, this morning, and we spent 20 minutes talking about them mobilizing and still getting ready, so we're confident they are going to get going. It's just a matter of making sure that the timing works out right.
It's going to change downtown Green Bay.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think everybody agrees with that. I know the mayor's been very, very supportive and wanting to see things continue and kind of putting the spurs to us a little bit to make sure we've got the right solutions and options on place for them. So we definitely want to see, just making sure that the timing works right. So we think that one's going to be moving forward. Matt and I are also working with Impact 7. We have this kind of preliminary term sheet that we've approved for them. We're working on getting that to a full development agreement, hopefully very, very soon. We'd love to have it by August, but that's going to depend on them as well as us in terms of getting something put together by then.
Good. Neat things going on, a lot of positive things.
So we feel very fortunate that the number of projects that have, even if they've been delayed a little bit, they're still continuing to work and move forward. We've had several other, certainly other communities are dealing with entirely paused projects and putting things being put on the shelf until pricing comes back down. We've had some good developers who've been really sharpening the pencil, and even in the case of this 200 North Monroe, the Associated Bank lot, it's like, guys, we don't want you to value engineer the project too much. We really like the project the way it was. So don't cut anything, don't take a whole lot of stuff out of it. We'd like to see that continue the way it was. So they've been very, very receptive and very good communications on that. So we're confident that that will get resolved here shortly.
Excellent. Questions or comments for Neil or staff or Mr. Mayor? Has he got to
Mayor is not here today, but he did express he had a conflict and certainly percent of his best.
All right. Questions or comments for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Our next meeting is August 9th. Entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
That was Debbie, but.
I thought it was. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
This is fun, let's do it again sometime.
Just hit stop.
Thanks, good.